Come with me to go on a podcast. It's with Dr. Brian King. I went on his TV show in San Francisco, like early on in my career. We're going to talk about just my career, like the last 18 years.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and blues. I'm here, I'm there.
Hey folks, Dr. Brian King here, once again coming to you from Dallas, Texas. This might be one of my last podcasts filmed in this studio because once again we're leaving, back on the road. It's been an awesome time, but it's time to move on. I'm sitting here today with a guest who I've been wanting to talk to for a long time. In fact, I've been wanting to meet her in person for years. I first became acquainted with her when I was living in San Francisco. She is an artist, a body painter. At least that's how I know her. She might identify beyond that. And at the time, I was booking guests for a radio show in San Francisco. And we needed a guest, but I was on tour. I was traveling. And I arranged for her to be on my show while I wasn't there. And I always kind of regretted that I wasn't there to meet her in person, because when I got back to San Francisco, she apparently had left, moved somewhere else, and then I ended up traveling the world, and our paths really never crossed until we found ourselves here in Dallas, both of us moving to Texas as a result of the pandemic. So before I left town, I had to get to meet and possibly interview the one and only Trina Merry. Trina, how are you?
Hey, I'm stinking hot.
It is so hot.
106 right now.
I know. I'll be honest with you, that is one of the reasons that we're leaving.
Melting.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be cold in Texas during the summer, but it's also not supposed to be over 100 degrees every single day.
August is just a beat down.
It's brutal. How do you
over.
do body paint in this kind of weather?
Yeah, you got to go really early in the morning if you're going to do an outdoor body painting when you still got like the 80 degrees, 90 degrees. If you wake up and it's like 80, 90 degrees.
Yeah.
So like that's your only chance is like sunrise.
It's
then it's too hot.
But I'm so glad you braved the heat to come over here and meet me today. How are you doing? Good?
Doing great. I just got back from Iceland and Greece. Next month, I'm doing a TED Talk, and I'm a judge at the World Body Paint Festival.
Yeah.
I'm just having a blast, working through a new series.
Wow.
Killing it.
Iceland and Greece, so clearly escaping that Texas heat.
Yeah, well, so Greece was pretty hot, actually,
Yeah.
and they don't have AC like we do, so that's,
Right.
I don't know, maybe that's hotter.
I'd like to get to know you, and of course allow my listeners to get to know you. How long have you been doing body painting, and how'd you get started?
Yeah, I've been doing it. It'll be 19 years in October, actually.
Wow.
So almost 2 decades.
Wow.
Which is so weird, because who grows up and is like, hey, I want to paint naked people for a living.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
So it's been almost 20 years. How'd you get started?
I got struck by lightning. I used to work in Hollywood, and I got struck by lightning in my car.
Oh, no.
And I moved to Yosemite to kind of get away from all of the electricity. I was really sensitive to like electrical lines and stuff like that. So I went to Yosemite, was painting in the woods, and my friend's band, the Dresden Dolls.
Yeah.
The band
the
Palmer.
Dresden Dolls,
So we went to San Francisco, and they're like, hey, you should get on stage in your underwear, and you should get body painted. And I was like, absolutely not.
Wait,
And then
who was doing the painting?
Strangers
wow.
from the audience. No, super vulnerable.
Really?
Like,
Yeah,
very
that's
much
like you're
performance
gonna
art,
let
like
some-
Yoko Ono level performance
That's
art.
wild, because you just open it up to any freak that's at the Dresden Dolls show
in San Francisco. You know what I mean? So yeah, but after a few glasses of like illegal absinthe in San Francisco, and there's like a magician that had horse whips all over his wall. They talked
Typical
me
San
into it.
Francisco stuff,
It was a 100% San Francisco night, and I fell in love with it. I was like, this is the single most sexy, exhilarating experience of my life.
But that was being painted.
Getting painted, getting painted, and then the next night they invited me back, and then I toured with their opening act, which was the Red Paintings from Australia. Toured with them, and then the rest is history. I was like, at some point on that tour, I decided I wanted to be the painter instead of the painted person, and the lead singer had synesthesia, which I have a version of that. And so it was, we really connected artistically. It was like invigorating, but that's how I became a body painter. And then the recession hit in 2008 in the Bay Area. Everybody was laid off.
Yeah.
Like 90%. You had double doctorate. You couldn't get a job at a gas station, Starbucks, nothing. So I was applying to 50 jobs a week, something crazy like that. But I wasn't getting hired for that. I was getting hired to paint naked people at clubs or like, semi-naked, right? Or in magazines.
How did people find out to even hire you for that?
I think I had like a Flickr account and a Facebook, and so people just kind of word of mouth found me.
So they'd see your pictures and they say, "Hey, can you do this for us?" or something like that.
Right. And it was really under the table, and then and I got like covers of magazines like right away in my career. It was crazy, and then in the Bay Area, and then I started my graffiti camouflage series in San Francisco's Clarion Alley, and that got picked up by a blog in the UK that was all about graffiti. And then all these blogs started picking it up, and I started getting news press.
Wow.
And that led me to like the human motorcycles, and then like my career exploded.
Yeah. I think
so. It's really random.
So I think I was introduced to you around the human motorcycles era.
Yeah.
You had body painted this model that I knew, which I don't think that was a motorcycle, but when she shared your work with me, I just remember seeing the motorcycle, and all that, and that was pretty wild. So that's like a real sort of ground up organic development, really.
I mean, Flickr.
I remember Flickr, and I used to maintain a Flickr because I'm a photographer. And I remember I got somebody approached me for a TV show and said, "Hey, can we use a picture of yours in a TV show?" And I said, "Yeah." And I got $100, and you got a career. I guess I should have been taking pictures of naked people back then.
I didn't even take the photos at that time. Yeah, I learned really quickly that if you want to own your copyrights, you should.
Yeah.
And I had some cool photographers that were teaching me in the Bay Area, and they also were like signing contracts where we could like co-own stuff. But I mean, you can't license things that you didn't take a photograph for. So it's a whole thing.
It's like, hey, that's my painting, but it's my picture. Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Oh, I spent 18 hours making this, but now you own it.
Yeah.
No. I have an automatic button on my camera, and suddenly I own it.
And that's why it's amazing. It's like whoever presses the button gets the copyright. It's a weird way to distinguish it, but you got to have something.
So suddenly I was a photographer.
So I was first introduced to body paint on the East Coast. I think probably it was either at like a Mardi Gras or Fantasy Fest, because I used to go to these parties, all the time, and then body painting festivals in Pennsylvania, and then I happened to meet people that got into body painting professionally and stuff, and so I was already pretty aware of that from the East Coast. So on the West Coast, the only body painting that I was ever aware of was in Seattle. There was a annual summer parade. I forget what parade it was, but
they do like the bikes.
Yeah, the bike thing,
Naked bike.
Naked, is that what it's called?
Something like that.
It's been a while. For some reason, I thought you were from Seattle, and I thought, okay, you are. And I thought that was where you got your start, just because I'm putting together things in my head. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, well, she's from Seattle, and she must have painted people on bikes and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, no, this is 100% Amanda Palmer's fault.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you, Amanda.
You've had a pretty amazing career ever since then. Where has life taken you since that point?
So I was doing art in San Francisco, moved to New York for like 6-7 years, but I also was a bit nomadic like you were, where I was touring. So I went to like the 7 Wonders of the World, and I did some series in Iceland, series in the UK, series in Florence. And I had a boyfriend that was from France, so like we'd spend 3 weeks in Paris, 3 weeks in New York, 3 weeks somewhere else. Like it was kind of a fun life.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic hit, which was insane, and New York was really insane, and I saw those refrigerator trucks with the bodies, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I had a boyfriend that lived here, and that was the first time I'd ever like said, okay, I'll move in with somebody. But I was like, whatever, it's gonna be 2 weeks, it's not a big deal. We could live together for 2 weeks, that's fine. Oh my gosh, years, and I'm still in Dallas.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Would have never moved here otherwise.
I had previously lived in Texas when I was younger. Like I went to college in Austin, you know, so
cool.
But when I left college and I left Austin, I said I would never come back. You know, and I really had no plans of coming back. Pandemic brought me back. You know, you make interesting decisions during the pandemic. I don't know that I'll go back to New York. That's where I'm originally from, is New York. I don't know if I'll go back to New York, but I'm not going to say I'll never go back because I learned my lesson about that, you know. But Dallas is a cool town. What made you stick around?
I found a really cool studio, like an amazing artist loft that I'm still like live working out of in Deep Ellum, and I just really like it. I mean, it's like if I could transplant that in like my little neighborhood to New York, that would be like my ideal situation. But yeah, it's nice because it's in the middle of the country, so you can fly to the coast pretty easily. Yeah. My parents moved to Belize, so it's a 3.5-hour flight direct down to see them. So I'm just in the middle of everything. And yeah, the summers suck. But also the winters are not that bad compared to New York. No, you know?
That's true. Yeah, I love it here. I mean, it's just sad that I'm leaving, but I really do appreciate Dallas. We live in, you know, and we have our studio in Lower Greenville, which is not quite as nightlifey as Deep Ellum, but really similar, you know. And the same thing, you know, your studio space is abundant. There's lots of opportunities, and you know, for me to go on tour, it's a couple hours to LA, it's a couple hours to New York. It's really incredible. So you gonna stay here? Is this gonna be like this is home for a while?
I just signed another lease literally this morning for another 2.5 years.
Oh wow! So at least
then after that, we'll see. I thought I would go back to New York, but it's a little crazy over there right now.
Yeah.
It's better to stay here and continue to build. And I'm in the middle of a series, and like I have my little stations around the studio of what I'm working on, because it's a multimedia series with sculptures and all kinds of things. So it's really nice to have like, to just know like, okay, 2.5 more years, I'll be here. After that, we'll roll the dice.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting way to go about it. Yeah, at least to finish your series too.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
What is the series that you're working on?
It's called kintsugi, which is about the Japanese art form of kintsugi, where you take broken pottery and you put it back together with gold, and you know, talk about healing and transformation, divinity that comes kind of out of that process. And so yeah, I'm doing a series of 5 paintings, body paintings, blending people into those, some body paintings not. I'm doing these like kintsugi plates, and I'm going to take some of those photographs and mount like the person onto it. And then I'm doing a series of sculptures, and we'll have a video performance.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
It's very multimedia. So like live performance, video, sculptures, paintings, and photographs.
Is this going to ultimately be like a gallery show? Or?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I have it all. I see the whole thing in my head already.
Yeah. Do you have a gallery already spec'd out for it?
No, but I would like to show it here first. I do have a gallery here, but it would be nice to. I'm going to kind of make sure that I want to show it at that gallery. Then I want to go to New York, maybe Miami, and then I want to take it to Tokyo or Japan ultimately, because it makes sense.
No, it's really cool, and I love the designs that come about when they take those broken pottery and they put the metal. Yeah, it's fantastic. But one series that you did, I don't know, your mind might not be finished, but well, I don't know, maybe it's not a series. It's just a style of art that you do, camouflage paint. That to me seems extremely tough. You know, I've done body painting, and my body painting is terrible. But you know, it's still passable as art. You know what I mean? But camouflage, man, it's like you really you can take a human being and blend them into the most difficult looking background. You know, whether it's a natural background or like the graffiti stuff. You know, when did performing with Dresden dolls and painting people to look like motorcycles, you know, how did that evolve into camouflage?
Yeah, I really was attracted to some optical illusion style work, and wanted to flatten kind of the person, make it look more 2D versus like 3D, right? Make you look for the person. Same thing with the motorcycles, try to see count how many people are actually in the motorcycle, which was really fun. But I didn't want it to get gimmicky. And so I took the camouflage series to new places. When I got to New York, started doing that with architecture and having a conversation about like feminism. And then I took it around the world to the 7 wonders of the world and kind of evolved it more. now I'm really dealing with nature and ecology and working on like our relationship to the environment and global warming. So that's why I just got back from Iceland, dealing with like the glaciers and the melting over there. So glacier melted actually while we were there, so that was intense.
Oh wow! Like when you say it melted, I mean, I would imagine they're like in a perpetual state of melting, or did it just completely?
So there was a seismic activity from a volcano that like melted. It hasn't happened since 2011. Wow. So yeah, it washed out entire bridge and road. That was the main road, so you had to go 14 hours around the other way.
Oh wow!
Yeah, instead of 3 or 4 hours to the city.
The camouflage stuff seems so complicated. I don't know how you do it, but I would imagine there's computers, there's monitors, there's like you. So you get for reference, you know, is that no? It's all eyeball. Like you do it. Are you serious? You freehand those guys?
I don't even use a tripod for the camera anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, when I started, it was like 12-hour ordeal, and I had a monitor with a live feed, so I could paint for the monitor because I couldn't really paint for what I was seeing with the camera, and so I was really trying to be like perfect with it. And then like I just got faster and faster and faster, and like the streets of New York really made me fast. You can't have a tripod. You can't be on the street for too long because there's all these people coming and going, traffic. Right. You know, NYPD getting in your face. So it's like, you know, I really had to become quick. So I started doing them in like 1 to 3 hours.
Wow.
And learned like just how to do it like fast, really hone in on my focus and attention, like pay attention to super micro details. And then I just take the photograph, and I usually don't take that many photographs.
That is so wild to me, because honestly, like I know that like, all right, so you got a painting that's on somebody, and it represents like the you know, it looks like the background that's behind them, but it only lines up under like one angle. You know what I mean? Like it. And also, and if you're painting, you know, it's real easy. Like if you're, you know, looking at somebody up here and then you get down low to look at them, like how do you keep your eyeball at that same camera angle? That's amazing to me. I can't even imagine doing that freehand.
Yeah, and sometimes like I'm doing squats, sometimes I'm laying on the ground, and that's because that's my photo. So I'm doing push-ups, and I call it the body paint workout. It's really intense, actually.
And then and the color matching too. I mean, that's everything about that. It just seems there's like I never would have imagined that you're doing it freehand. I would have figured there'd be like a whole big computer system behind you, a monitor, you know, like all kinds of stuff, you know.
No, nothing. And I usually just even keep the camera in my backpack for most of the shoot. And then the thing is, you have to have good lighting. Lighting is everything. So if you have the good lighting, you got cloud cover, it's by sunrise, sunset, something like that, so you get that like flatter lighting. That's really what like makes the color. So otherwise it's a battle with the color, because the sky's changing, the environment's changing. So
if you take too long, it's like it's completely changed.
Can't. No, you got to go, oh, the conditions aren't good now, but maybe by the time I'm done with this painting, it's going to be all right. It's an act of faith every time. Or you're like, crap, the light's going to be so good in 30 minutes. I don't know if I can get this done in 30 minutes. I hope it's good by the time I'm done in an hour. And you just roll the dice.
Have you ever had any that didn't quite work out?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. What are those? Tell some of those stories.
But they're not the end of the world. I still think that they're interesting and viable pieces of art. You know, are they like perfectly blended? No. I mean, I just did a piece at Harba, like where I was blending a person in. There was so much backlight, so much more backlight than front light. And I thought it was going to be cool to blend somebody into the geometric designs, and I was like, oh my gosh, this painting is not working out. And I'm like photographing and filming like my other body painted models that are doing performance art and dance in the space while I'm live painting. Like it was like a complete circus. So it wasn't working. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Let's just go with generalities. Start breaking this down into shapes. Just start, you know, feeling it out. And at the end, I'm like, you know what? Like, was that my favorite painting? No. But did I solve a problem? Yeah. And so like I learned some lessons. So it's always a win.
Yeah, like I don't know, if you're camouflage and you know the light changes and it just now what? It looks like there's a person colored in front of a background that doesn't quite match up.
I was just doing a body painting at Kirkefeld Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see in the time lapse like the cloud is swirling down. It covers the mountain, and I'm like, so now we had a mountain, and now we have no mountain.
Yeah.
So we had to stop the painting. I did a whole painted 3 other people at a different location for something else. Then we had to come back to the mountain, wait for the cloud to thin out enough so we could see the mountain again, or wait for the cloud to thin out so we could see the mountain again. And then I got to go back and like finish the painting, but I had to like change some things and the color, and then it like looks amazing. But like, you know, sometimes you just have to be patient, wait for the light to change.
Yeah. How do you find your models?
I get so many people that hit me up. Now, I have so many people that hit me up that they pay me to paint them, right? But I usually still do some sort of a closed audition. My last open audition was like 650 people for 20 spots. So
Where was that?
in New York, yeah. So trying to look at 650 reels and portfolios, and then go through multiple castings, you know, it's like a big time investment, but then you get a solid team. Now I just look at like people that I've painted before or other painters that I know, and I ask for recommendations. And I just have, you know, in 19 years you build up relationships. So yeah. And I also am interested in, you know, other type, like collaborations with like other, you know, performers, influencers, dancers, that kind of thing. Those are, you know, I'm gonna be all right.
It's wonderful when you can collaborate with other artists and do something. And you know, I know you painted my friend Cheryl Ann, who was on my podcast not too long ago. What was that project?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, I got really stir crazy because I couldn't really paint. It's like maybe 1 or 2 people a month. You had to wait 2 weeks so you could be within 6 feet of another person. Then quarantine again. Like, what kind of crazy bullshit was that? But anyways, I decided to just get out and go to the different national parks. And so she was the Smoky Mountains, which was really cool. We still were like wearing masks at first, but then she and I decided, you know what, we're outside. It's fine. Let's like get rid of the masks. Yeah. But yeah, it was a crazy time to try to be doing a series. Sometimes I was the only person on the plane. You know, that's like this entire plane is taking me to the Smoky Mountains to go body paint Cheryl Ann. This is crazy or whatever, you know.
And you still only paid like a couple $100.
Oh, it was so cheap. No, way under $100. Yeah, it was way less than 100, which is wild.
Most of my traveling during the pandemic was by car, and not that I didn't want to fly anywhere, but I really do like a road trip, and I could take my whole family with me. But flew a couple of times in empty planes. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So Cheryl Ann was the Great Smoky Mountains. That's interesting. Yeah. All right. We'll have to look that one up. Now, where do you post your work for public consumption?
On my website, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. I think it goes to Facebook via Meta through Instagram right now. I'm on all the platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the Snapchat, all the things, but I'm mostly focused right now on YouTube.
No Flickr?
I mean, it still exists. Yeah, my Flickr still exists somewhere.
It's the only website where I've publicly displayed my photography where it actually got me work, so I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting me off of Google Photos or, you know what I mean? Instagram, I don't really consider a place to showcase photography because there's censorship and filters and
tell me about it. That was my whole last week. Yeah. No, it's gotten so much worse on all platforms. Yep. The last 3 years, the censorship's been insane.
Yeah. YouTube even has. I had a couple.
My first strike that was reversed, but I've never had a problem with YouTube.
Yeah, I've had a couple of YouTube videos recently, and that were artistic but involved nudity, and one of them was taken down, and the appeal wasn't even looked at. I was like, all right, well, it is what it is. I mean, these platforms that provide us with these opportunities, but I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I am trying to figure out where I can start to post my work. Exactly what you're saying. Where the public can see it and in its actual form. I don't want to do like a Patreon, which I think you still can't post nude work on.
Well, Patreon does allow it, but you have to designate yourself as an adult, content creator, and that's where all of the porn stars and the you know what I mean. It's like they lump you in that same category. Nudity is not the same across the board.
Yeah. I am trying to figure out what would be a good platform for it.
Yeah.
Beyond my website.
Of course. Do you sell merch with your work on it? Like I can imagine posters,
cool.
books, even your national park series, that could be a nice table, coffee table book,
Yeah. I've never done that. I don't think it's profitable.
It's not. I'm a best-selling author, and I'm living in a shack.
I do books so it's weird, right? I love me a good art book, but so that's I sell photographs of my artwork, that's mostly, and then otherwise it's like commissions. So people licensing my work, or they're like wanting to do a portrait session with me, or a company wanting me to do something with them. So it's a lot of that kind of. But I still do gallery exhibitions and sell the photographs.
If I remember correctly, the motorcycle that I'm familiar with, I didn't know it was a whole series of motorcycles, but the motorcycle I'm familiar with, that was commissioned by a motorcycle company.
Yeah, so the International Motorcycle Shows asked me to paint a girl to match a motorcycle, and I was like, that sounds super bad. That sounds so sexist.
The client always has the best ideas.
Oh my gosh. And so then I was like, well, what if I made people into a motorcycle? And they were like, that's crazy. And I was like, yeah, why don't I just give me $300 and I'll see if to buy pizzas for everybody. I'll get some friends, we'll come over, we'll put them in a bunch of poses together, and I'll draw on it, and we'll see if it works out. And I was like, you lose $300. And they're like, done.
Wow.
I sketched it out, and then they pretended like it was their idea at some point, but that was they definitely were going with a really sexist, terrible idea. And then but I blew them away totally. Honestly, to the credit of the photographer Juan Marino and I working together, and even with a little bit his wife, we really problem solved that. And what's fun is he now was working for Tesla, and works on real cars.
Where's your human body painted Tesla?
Yeah, well, I don't know if Elon Musk is the right move in this environment.
Texas,
Yeah. You're not wrong.
I mean, it's not that far.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even have to fly you that far,
To Austin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be so easy. I love Austin.
Yeah, it's a good town.
Yeah.
You've had a really interesting career. What are some of the highlights, in your opinion? I know, I know there are some things that I've done that I would say that's the best thing I ever did creatively, or even professionally. What are some of those highlights?
I think they've changed for me over time, so at first I was like, I just want to do New York Fashion Week, which I did with Alice and Olivia. I just want to do stuff in the museum, and I started in San Jose, with the San Jose Museum of Art, but pretty soon was at the Whitney and at the Brooklyn Museum of Art, and so I was doing so I did that, and so things kept changing for me, but I would say, going to the Seven Wonders of the World and doing that series was really amazing. I think I love, there's just been a lot of career highlights, the Getty Villa, definitely the Whitney Biennial, but it's sometimes just the small paintings, that where I really have a nice connection. In Florence, I was at the Museo dei Bardini, and I was painting a model that flew up for me for Venice. It was just a really nice, mellow painting, and day and morning, and everything was clicking. Those feelings are so strong. I just was at Krugerfeld Mountain, such a strong vibe there. It's such a spiritual mountain. It's really fascinating, the vibe there, and it just was clicking. Everything was just clicking, even though there's it was a challenge to get the piece from a weather standpoint. Things just feel good. So those are maybe the things I hang on to more, are those moments. versus like big career highlights, but I've had some big career highlights.
Yeah.
For sure. Worked with the biggest brands, showed at the best museums. Like, I had a moment actually where I was like, shit, I've done everything I wanted to do. Now what?
Is there anybody that you've painted that is particularly memorable? Or?
Well, I mean, there's in what way? You mean from a celebrity?
You know, like, I can't believe I got to paint that person, kind of thing. Like, you paint Brad Pitt, you know. Like
yeah, well, I definitely was super pumped to paint Jason Mraz. Like, that, there's no secret there.
What was that for?
That was for a Ford ad campaign. Unfortunately, I would love to paint him not for a Ford ad campaign. I think he would like me to paint him not for a Ford campaign. But yeah, that one, like, dude, what a sweet dude. And, you know, he grew up with his music and the coffee shops, and, you know, love it. He was like raw vegan. I was raw vegan. You know, he's got the avocado tree farm. We just like really, it was a good painting. It was a good painting. And I'm really glad I got to meet him and spend time with him. But, yeah, I mean, I have to think of like a story.
20 years. I mean, that's a long time. So
it's a lot to keep in mind. It's a lot to keep in mind. I think one of the other really cool paintings, like moments, was I painted Alexandra Peter, who is in the Harry Potter musical now on Broadway, and she and I did a body painting where I blended her into a moving subway. And that's insane.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I got kind of bored, you know.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm like, I could camouflage with my eyes closed at this point. Like, I was just really doing it all the time. So I was like, let's give myself some challenges. So I did one in Times Square with like a moving taxi, and then I was like, let's do one with a subway. It's like, it was like this, where it was bacon and you're just dripping, and the model's dripping, and the paint's coming off. But yeah, I painted her real quick into like a moving subway, and I think I did like maybe 3 shots per one. So I think I did like 9 shots, 3 trains going by in Union Square. And like, what was really amazing about that is people got the fuck out of the way, because you know, you can't sorry, I don't know if we can swear on this podcast.
It's a podcast on YouTube.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure YouTube isn't censoring swear words yet.
Yeah. So what was amazing to me is like is that people actually moved out of the way. You know, they're waiting for the subway. Who gets out of the way? If anything, they're fighting to be the first one on the train. Right. You know, so yeah, to actually get them to move for the photograph was like amazing. And I only got 3 shots as the train was coming, but they're predictable, right? It's going to come the same way. It's at the same velocity the next time. So I lined it up, and 1 out of the 9 shots worked, and we got out of there before the MTA came after us.
But what you do is not illegal. You know, I mean, it's legal to be, you know, publicly nude. I think at least topless in New York City. Right?
Yeah, you can be fully nude and with body paint or getting body painted. It's legal. I had actually one of my models got arrested, and Andy Golub was the body painter for that one, and they sued for wrongful arrest. They wouldn't even let her like cover up to like go down to the courthouse or to jail, and so they sued for, I think it was $18,000 and won. And so then after that, like, my lawyer drafted stuff, his lawyer drafted stuff. Like, we have a document that we travel with that's like, you know, we each do this, where it's like, yeah, here's the things. And the NYPD just goes, they'll show up with like 18 police officers.
Right, wow.
You know,
just to bust
and then I would just be like,
who's painting nude people.
It's like, did you want a selfie with them? What I'm doing is legal. We're just here for the selfies. You know, I was like really cheeky with them at one point. Now everybody knows. You know, we did. Andy was amazing. He did organized a thing called Human Connection Arts, where they did body paint day once a year, and so that was like 50 to 100 people that were body painting and running around naked in New York, and then like the TV show Skin Wars came out. Yeah. So people are more aware of like what I'm doing, which is really helpful, because now I have so much more freedom and I'm way less harassed.
And you have this current project. Anything else on the horizon you want to share and talk about?
So yeah, I'm working on the Kintsugi series. I'm working on an eco-femme series in nature, which we talked about. I still do some camouflage, And I think the most interesting things that are coming up for me is that I'm doing a TED Talk in Woodstock, Vermont, in mid-September on the 14th, and then I'm being a judge for the World Body Paint Festival. I'm also going to give 2 talks there, so I'm going to talk about like how far will you go for your art, extreme art. It's going to be really cool.
That's going to be awesome. That's really cool.
So I don't want to like plug those. You can absolutely cut that part out, but
That's all right. We'll plug them anyway.
those are I mean, those are career things that are happening for me. But yeah, I just finished up a series in Iceland, so I'm going through that content right now.
I know you've been in Dallas for a few years, and I have too, but I haven't seen any Dallas work out of you. Have you done any camouflages around town or anything that I'm just not paying attention to?
It's hard for me to get into Dallas. I have a lot of work that's in the studio, but I just started doing some like trying to understand Deep Elm a little bit more. There's so many talented like mural artists,
street artists and stuff.
Incredible.
The murals are awesome.
Yeah, so I started doing a few camouflages into those before the really intense summer heat hit, and I might pick it up again in the fall. I don't feel like it's resonating with people though, like my old graffiti or like street art camouflages were, but it's a way for me to connect with those artists, and they really love it, and it's a way for me to like connect with the neighborhood, understand Deep Ellum and like what it's like early in the morning. As people are doing the walk of shame home through piles of vomit.
Deep Ellum is lovely. It's a great part of town. Well, awesome. Well, so I think we're going to start wrapping it up a little bit. So regular listeners, regular subscribers, they know that recently we posted a video where my wife Sarah had been body painted by Cheryl Ann Lipstrow, and people are like, Brian, when are you going to get body painted? When are you going to get body painted? So I thought that today would be a good time for us for me to do that. Would you be willing to give this some paint?
Yeah, let's give it a try.
All right, let's do it. You got everything you need over there? Is that even on camera? Yeah, it is. All right.
I mean, my boobs are on camera.
Water. That is, at least we get the good stuff on the camera. I tried body painting myself a long time ago, and it didn't work out very well. I have never been painted by a professional body painter. I'm super excited about this. I think this is going to be kind of cool. We just all right, be gentle.
You ready?
Ready.
Okay.
And crap, my camera just ran out of battery. Thanks, Trina. We'll see if we can pick that up next time.
I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. Blues, women, and blues. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. I'm an asshole, I'm rude.